We'll start tonight's City of Olivet Planning Community Design or Design Commission for what is today's date? February 19th, 2026 to order. Acting Secretary, would you mind please calling the roll?
Sure. Petrie Paul,
Absent.
Jenna Nat, present. Tim Spiegelglass,
Present.
Felicia Ford,
Present.
Sam Wallet,
Absent.
Bar Ragsdale, present. And Chairman Dragal.
Present. Let it also be known that our City Council Liaison, Councilmember Brian Lewis, is online. Thanks, Brian, for being there. As well as our staff liaisons, Carlos Trejo, Olivet's Planning Community Development Department's Director, Dawn Doty, Senior Planner, and Jack Carswell, Planning and Zoning Administrator. So thanks, everybody, for being in attendance. We don't have anybody in the public right now, so and there's nobody online. However, we might have some public comments near the end. So I think we'll just defer that till the end.
Absolutely.
So we'll move on to old business. Item 3. This is the text amendment for the light industrial district. Carlos?
Yes. Chairman, I was requesting if the commission would reconsider the motion that was taken at our last meeting on February 5th regarding the recommendation to the council to amend our zoning regulations regarding data centers. This is primarily due to some feedback we received from the city attorney earlier this week. And we had discussed like this in the process of zoning, you can't really exclude something, but you could establish regulations to control time, place, and things of that nature. She recommended, and this was, I think, brought up at one of our prior meetings, that there are different sizes of data centers.
Right.
And if the city would define the different variety of data centers, you could exclude the large ones that would be incompatible with our overall vision, our community character, and such, especially like the larger type in there. And that's what this reconsideration would do. We would identify, of course, the data centers. We would identify 4 primary types. Ones, those that are accessory to a principal use. So if enterprise had a data center, kept some of their data in there, things like that. That's not what they operate, but they have that as a function of their services. A minor in which the building area is 20,000 square feet or less. A medium data center, which is between 20,000 to 999,000 square feet. And then a major, anything over 100,000 square feet in there. And there are other types of classifications. This would just kind of identify the 3 primary types that Olivet would consider minor, medium, and major in there. By doing that, the city could then establish some regulations regarding each individual type, like to have a minor, which is you need a lot size of 80,000 square feet. To have a medium, a lot size of 120,000 square feet, which is 3 acres, and that we would prohibit the major ones. We just don't have that type of land area for buildings of that size in there. So in essence, we're not prohibiting data centers, but we are prohibiting the size and classification that just doesn't fit within the community in there, and still permitting minor and medium, and then the accessory. The square footages, where do they come from? In terms of lot areas, in our zoning code, we use 80,000 and 120,000 square feet a lot, especially when we classify things in the COR district, in the mixed use district, and in the special permits in there. So that's where those numbers come into play. In terms of building sizes, we did do a lot of research, and you'll note if you took a look on your agenda, bear with me one second, we have provided in there a lot of things that the community can access regarding from East-West Gateway Council of Governments, which has its own resources regarding data centers, to information Olivet has collected regarding the data centers, including the draft that had been considered by the commission. So there's a lot of things in there that our residents can access through that process for that information. The other thing that we would include here, or the actual language, which was part of an amendment at our last meeting, was that 50% of the power would come from renewable resources, and we put within 5 years.
I don't remember us specifying a percentage.
That was at the very end. I believe it was a council liaison that recommended it, and the
That's right.
commission
Okay, I do.
went ahead and
Yeah.
concurred. And again, we have Ms. Doty's put together the maps regarding the 120,000 square feet or more in there. And again, you have that information in a proposed motion if the commission is to consider a reconsideration. A couple other things, we did have the information out, and I did speak with Ms. Petrie today, and I told her that I would relay some information. She had recommended, based on some research she had done, to expand the buffer from the 300 feet that's under the current tax to 1,000 feet, and in there. While I do understand that, the way, given the characteristics of our community in land area, that would pretty much exclude them. So I can't support, going up that high. We can look at 500, but 300 was the typical that was being used. Now, the distance in there, that 1,000 feet that she was alluding to, a couple of things that I don't know, whether that was for these mega or major type of data centers and the sounds that they produce, I can understand. But I don't know if like a minor, what we call a minor, or middle size would need that. And plus we are requiring, a consultant study, and then the sound mitigation as part of the permitting process or the building performance process. So I believe it's balanced, but I told her I would bring that information to the commission's attention.
Can we look at that map, of the different sizes? Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what, lots would potentially be close to residents.
The primary ones, of course, in the northwest portion of the city along Indian Meadows and the what I'll call Warson Green, Grandview area. In there, you have this linear industrial park. Most of those lots are small. Don, they're probably about an acre and a half at the most.
Yeah.
So that gets you about 60. You may have one that's 80,000 square feet in there, but their proximity to the residential boundaries pretty much limits it to this back area right here. However, here, right behind us in the Dillman Industrial and North Price Industrial Parks, these are the areas. Along here, you have these residents here at the north, what we call the northeast quadrant, in there, and the bigger parcels that are up against the northeast quadrant would be excluded because of the buffer.
Yeah.
Same thing would happen here on the western end. So you kind of have this pocket here. I think this is what Don is showing. These sites here that would have a capacity of 120,000 square feet or more.
Gotcha.
That would be over 300 feet from a residential property.
Yeah.
And I'll get a little closer, to that.
And to give some perspective on the size of the parcels, up on the higher map with the blue, are these two that are right above the two pink are too small. So that is, if those are too small, then you can see how others would also be too small, and that's why they're excluded.
What about if they went to the small,
To the 80,000 square feet,
Yeah.
you'd probably pick up a couple like this one here, but it would be within the buffer.
Mhm.
So again, that kind of knocks everything out on this area. So what it would probably expand would be right around here where we already have charter, and in this pocket here. Now you do have residents here at Appleseed, so a 300-foot, would probably exclude these parcels here. So again, it's probably going to be, a little island somewhere in here.
In the center of the industrial park.
Yes.
Well, I personally think these amendments sound great. Does anybody have any questions about them or want to discuss whether we want to increase the buffer from 300 to anything higher?
Carlos, can you put the sheet above this that kind of summarized what was in the?
If we went to 500, would it knock out any of those in the pink? I'm just curious.
I'm gonna, give me 1 second, I'll go back to that map.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
no,
No, you're good.
I think it would knock out the two on the right.
It would likely, it would affect, I mean, like,
I'm just
the
curious.
ones, I mean, I don't know where the boundary, falls exactly, but yeah, if you increase the distance from residential, you're gonna lose something.
We could put it up on Google Maps and just kind of get a distance from
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Norris Price Road to, like,
I'm just gonna run a straight line from about right here.
mhm.
So that's about 500 feet.
Okay, so if we even want 500, it'll still keep
That is correct.
those ones there.
But you're saying the ones over in the back up to Indian Meadows,
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
fall
Yeah.
outside or inside of the three?
They're within the 300 feet.
Okay.
So that wouldn't be allowed up there.
So the further lots here are typically, you may have a couple that, well, I don't know if any of them would be, this one would be 80,000 square feet, but it's within 300 feet. So it doesn't qualify, even though it has a lot area. Back here, you may have an 80,000 square foot one.
So measure that to the, yeah.
Mhm. I bet.
Right.
Here, all right. So about 500 square feet will get you pretty much remove all this block along here. So anything that would be further inward on the other side of the community center parking lot.
So I think we easily can go set it at 500, and still meet that. The question is, do we go further? 500 is a pretty good distance.
There's a
And
couple
again-
of things when you do look at, you're balancing, having the noise mitigation and the distance. And again, if you're gonna do let's say we were gonna do 1,000-foot distance, and then is it really necessary to do the noise mitigation?
Right.
So it's
Distance is your friend with noise,
Mhm.
that always helps.
Wouldn't the consultant put that into their equation to say, hey, they're 1,000 feet away instead of, 300 feet away? Wouldn't that be part of that noise
yeah,
equation? when
but
they do-
I would envision the consultant would do more of a assessment of the quality of the building material to absorb sound and
Mhm.
what's out there and what decibel levels those do, and then what needs to be mitigated,
To
through-
keep
through
it
con- through
inside their
construction,
building.
yeah, that can be built before they start looking at distance. And that's why we just said, hey, as long as it's 300 feet and you do your study in there. If we go to 500, I mean, 500 looks, isn't it bad? I think at 1,000, I think we really risk doing something that, again, that calls attention that we're just saying no to them.
Yeah, yeah. Potentially setting yourself up for a lawsuit. I gotta think that the chillers are gonna be really noisy. And I'm not sure, but you know, they should be inside, but they may not be.
But you're saying, hey, no matter where it is, you have to have this noise consultants, which
Yeah.
I agree, cause you
Yeah.
don't want the building next to you to be, you know, even if you had an office next to it, I don't want to be,
Exactly.
deal with that.
Or parks or, you know. things like
Whatever's
that.
by it, they shouldn't have to deal with the noise.
Yeah, should we change that from 500, let's say if we go 500, should we say 500 feet from residential and parks?
I think, again, now you start to extend it a little bit further than, I'm trying to make sure that within our limits, it would still be,
Still keep the sites in the industrial, you know, park, but you know, I think
in essence, it would wipe all this area out, which is,
I'm not saying 1,000, I'm saying 500,
oh, yeah, I'm comfortable with the 500.
but I'm wondering.
Well, you're saying from the parks boundary.
Now I'm changing it to residential and
And-
parks, yeah, which I think is
So
reasonable,
the park it would affect is here,
yeah.
at Person Park, which is the community center.
Not sure.
There's,
I mean,
there's no park over in the northeast quadrant.
well, there is, well, not in the northeast, correct. But we do have this designated as PA area. So let me just check on this again, just to make sure that there is an area.
Yeah, I understand.
I can possibly do an evaluation in ArcMap, if you give me just a few minutes.
We'll see who's faster.
Oh, you gotta compete.
Yeah.
This mouse buttons.
I don't know if I lost it.
Why don't you just try,
Making a map.
No, it's the way they have who had this mouse last switch buttons on.
oh, okay.
And then, do you know that you just lost it?
I don't know.
When I saw her face, that she just realized it.
Yeah.
What happened with?
I lost my diamond ring.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and tell me you've gotten that like looped at some point recently.
Yeah, here we go. Sorry about that, guys.
I'll probably on the way out of here, just,
So again, you start,
you know. It's my center cut,
What's the shade?
a pear.
Oh.
Sorry.
Does that really matter?
I'm hoping it's not, I'm not, I don't think it. I know,
Wait,
I know.
what, single family and, public activity in this?
Residential,
You have residential and parks or
Parks.
just residential?
they wanted to see what the parks would do.
Parks.
And then.
Tear things apart when I get home. Is this making it
I
for
wouldn't
the
even know what
minutes?
to do with it, I gotta.
Yeah.
tell you. You said that, I'm like, I don't know, what do you do? I guess pawn it? I don't know what you do with that. Look at me like, why do you have that?
Yeah, definitely check your pockets because it'll get caught on threads. I used to work in jewelry.
Mm.
We'll scour
Okay,
Am I
Yeah.
still in the running for winning here? Cause.
I think so.
It all depends on what you're trying to show. I don't know. What is the goal again? I'm sorry,
500 feet.
500
from
feet
Park
from
or.
parks.
Or residents.
Resident.
Okay. As long as it's 500, yes, that works.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
What is it?
I buffered all the properties that are parked and. Yeah.
All right.
We're good.
I can project it,
Yeah,
although
that's
it's not
fine.
running. Would I press in here? Oh, no. There we go.
I wasn't doing anything. Nothing. Just
Uh,
talking.
Just. Filter this.
I did take the dogs for a walk right before this. Oh my God.
So, it leaves, well, it touches one of the larger ones. Ooh. So, it touches like the corner of one of the larger lots. That's, that makes it into the, over,
120.
120, yeah.
By how much?
I mean, like, so you can see the little edge there, but so that would really be the only two that would be allowed. If we, I guess we can't really flip back to yours. So.
We're gonna try to share the screen.
Well, so this is my screen. Oh, is it not shared?
No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
didn't go anywhere. I wonder, I'm looking at it and I'm just. Okay, there we go. Now you can see what I mean.
Mhm.
These two, larger ones here. There's a little corner that meets the 500 feet from the parks. It does rule out like all of everything in Bower. I'm not sure how the 8,000, I could also do a real quick, query on the zoning here real quick. And get us those tiers for the square footage of the lots.
So is it the 500 feet that's coming from the residential or the parks that's affecting that?
Because they are combined, so I would assume, that.
Residential, because those are apartments. Right?
No, because Carlos
You
said
know,
that.
those, the
Not
PA
sure.
Yeah,
that
but that's
are.
right there, that's
also
like kind of an
Bruce's
R.
Trail.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start calling it Bruce's Trail, so it's everybody.
It was called what?
Bruce's Trail. So those are also public activity,
Yeah.
which
that was
when
good.
included with the other parks,
Parks.
it, really brings that closer to the industrial as well.
So it's the new trail. So see, I wouldn't consider the trail a park, but
But it's still.
But it's
public
under
act-
that
It's still
category.
zoned public
Mhm.
activity.
I understand. But when I think of
Can we
park,
define it some,
like I think of
else?
park like Stacy Park, I think of Warson Park, like
Mhm.
or
Well,
Zion
yeah.
Park. I don't think of the Greenway or like a walking trail as like I get that it's still a public activity place, but it's not what I would consider like a park where you're playing like a baseball game or a softball game and listening to the hum of this for 30 minutes straight.
Right. Can we call out the parks individually?
I think that gets a little complicated, especially if we add or remove parks, and there really isn't a definition. We struggle with a definition of a park. Not just in our zoning code, but the Parks Department did.
Yeah.
When we did a redevelopment there at Dillman and Olive, with the Veterans Fountain.
Yeah.
Was the term. We start to create another definition.
Well, I don't want to create a definition. I just want to call the parks out by name.
Yeah.
Warson Park, Stacy Park.
Is it, but is that, adding that park, is that gonna change the distance if we say 500 feet, or is that just gonna
That's what
keep
did it
the
because
lots?
That's what did it because the walking trail, the new greenway that they're gonna connect, that's what then,
Right, but we're
Change it.
trying to say, hey, we don't want that, correct, is what we're getting at?
So. I
So
think-
I'm asking, is any of the other parks affected, or are we just talking about?
Warson Park. Or the community center.
Where the community center is?
Get you something different, I'll
what
drop
if
off
you went
the
to
PA.
like 400? I mean, I don't know. Let's play with the number.
Where's the greenway gonna go?
It goes. So. That's.
You can see it on that green slot right there, right?
No, the future greenway is not defined.
It's not, no.
This is
They-
an old, rail line,
There's public
which
works.
is some indication, however, it's not completely, like, that
Right.
doesn't, it's not the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Or the trail and that will not,
Yeah,
or
it
they
is
will
connected to the
diverge
rail
at some point, and you'll still be able to see where that rail line is, but most of it. will
Yep.
be Trail.
Yeah, it looks like it's the residential.
It's not?
It's,
You see how the 500 feet buffer just ends right where it goes
Yeah.
vertically?
yeah,
That neighborhood that's at the top near Dealman is the reason it's hitting that corner because it's in the residential.
This neighborhood.
You agree, and up top. That very top portion, that road right off of, no, to your left, that was at 300 feet. And that's now at 500, because isn't that top hitting the top corner of the parcel that was on the map also?
I can get it back to that, I'm just gonna do a 500-foot buffer from, the single family.
That's what, it's lined off.
Yeah.
Pops out, because that's residential now has been increased from 500, or to 500, yeah.
yeah, I get that. And that's why it also curves here.
Yeah. Curious if you did do this at 400, if that would take that corner off that parcel.
Oh, she doesn't even have,
No, yeah, just.
our facility isn't shown there.
Yes,
Okay,
it's also PA.
all right.
Now it's currently, I mean, like I took off the PAs for this
And
map.
that's still
and-
there.
So it's redrawing buffers with only the SR. Ooh. Sorry, just not. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Do it again.
All right, Chairman. So what is the go here now? It's the buffer it from the parks? Is that?
Yeah.
Right. It's something we'll take back, and right now the council does have a recommendation on the table for their consideration, which wouldn't include any of these changes, but we can try to bring it back at our March 9th meeting. And get the maps put together.
It would be wise, I think.
Yeah.
I think we don't have enough bandwidth. Like,
But we want to approve these changes.
That was the goal, but I think right now, I need to look at and assess
Yeah,
this change in buffer. That was something I was not aware of.
right,
So,
right. I'm just wondering if we could pass it with the 300 and the residential, and then say that, kind of make a recommendation that it gets further looked at before it gets to council to see if
we should have that opportunity, and we can get it
Yeah.
set for the next.
and that way because I think we got to get this on the on record. You know what I mean?
And so,
If you guys feel comfortable with that.
I would just like to point out a couple things because I live over there. It's already loud
mhm.
because we have the trains that come through.
Yeah.
And then the AZZ that we're fighting with, that is really loud all day. And you think it doesn't matter when you're in a walkway or in a park, but it's when you're just walking your dog, it's annoying and you hear it constantly. So
I'm sorry, Felicia, would you say the AZ was?
AZZ, it's on the other side
Okay.
of Dealman. That's really loud and it emits a lot of dust and smoke, which apparently is toxic. So we're already dealing with a lot over there. So if we minimize the distance, we got a lot of noise already. And
Yeah.
the potential for one more thing would be really frustrating to the residents over there.
Yeah.
Because I know my house already falls outside of the 300, even 500 look like, but I still hear a lot of it. So I would like that to be a serious consideration because it's already loud.
Right. Well, what we could do is put in the 500 for parks and residents. Maybe have you guys evaluate that. Talk to our staff attorney, or not staff attorney, but our outside counsel. See if that is going to be something that's acceptable. If not, then we're going to have to look at, other way. How do you like that?
I'll let the commission.
Okay.
I think that the city's establishing performance standards in that way. I'm fine. I just stressing it professionally as the city's planner, the recommendation that we're putting in those placement standards because of the urban character of the community. But the commission has, the authority you want to expand it. I just want to be on the record. That's not what the ideal situation from a planning perspective.
Yeah.
Again, you guys are residents and you guys are representing the community as a whole, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what do you guys think? Any discussion? Where do you want to go? Or do you want to have Carlos research it more and come back?
Carlos, can you go back to the map with the blue and the pink? I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Can you zoom in on the one with the pink again?
the lower one here,
Yes. I just want,
1 second here.
so the new walkway, the new greenway, doesn't it go down? It's supposed to go right next to or right near the railroad line.
That is correct. That whole that whole right of way, this whole strip here.
So if you're putting, that's a public access thing, so then that would knock 500 feet of that would knock all of that out.
Even 300.
And
Even the 300
would, if you're putting a park designation on it. Not so much, it's not so much the neighborhoods. Well, this back corner neighborhood might,
Mhm.
for them, that will knock the 300 out of that neighborhood, but but when you talk about parks, that being a park line, then it's gonna knock everything out.
It depends, I think,
I think-
at and its current level, because it's not there, it would not.
When it comes in.
When it comes in, the city is going to have to reconsider, and maybe that is the opportunity where you establish a parks district, a park zoning district to identify or distinguish between these different segments, because we do have a segment on, south of Olive that runs along the water line. We zone that PA, public activity, like we have this building here,
Mhm.
zone public activity. We have a couple of common areas in the Chevy Chase subdivision that are zoned public activity. And again, those wouldn't impact, but we've been using that PA district for like,
Broadly.
anything publicly accessible.
Yeah.
And maybe that a reconsideration is done that would distinguish those trail systems in there. Indian Meadows Park is always going to be an Indian Meadows Park, regardless of where the trail is. And Warson Park will always be Warson Park. It's somewhat unique because it's multiple lots that make up Warson Park and however it was in there. But, the city we could be creative in terms of distinguishing this from that, or intentionally looking at as PA to take it out at that time. Right now, it wouldn't impact that if the council wanted to, or over time, if communities became more emboldened, or the state supported, the community aspects, you zone a PA, and then, then it would pretty much be gone. I wouldn't say completely. There may be something like right at that short line in there, and I think still up at Bauer and Ashby, where the county has the kennel, would probably still qualify. That kind of is like the only lot that would qualify for an adult establishment, adult only type of establishment. Because we we couldn't zone it out, but we could like stretch it as far as we can. And we, not to say anything because we're on the record, but it's county, it's public property. Odds are the odds of them selling that property to an adult establishment is pretty limited.
Right.
So if we did 500 with park or residential and park, it could be amended later though, yes.
Yeah, and these are always, I
Okay,
mean,
so then I kind of like the 500 just to get it further away from neighborhoods.
so the two changes, 500, going from 300 to the current 300 recommendation
Mhm.
to 500. And in that recommendation, extending it not just from residentially zoned properties,
Mhm.
but public activity properties.
Yes.
Yes,
If I understood, all right.
that's my,
I agree with you.
I agree.
So you guys-
So all of that being said, do we have any identified amount of land that would qualify?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
and we'll bring those to you
Okay.
at the next meeting.
So we're not limiting to not having the data centers. We're just,
It would be very selective.
yeah, it'd be
area.
very selective. Okay.
Is that all right? I mean, and I'm more
Yeah.
comfortable with that aspect of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. Any other further discussion? Do I hear a motion? Sam's gone. So remember. Who feels brave?
I can make a motion.
All right, go ahead.
Recommended, to. I've lost it. Okay, to amend the text amendment to the light industrial district regarding data centers. of chapter 400 zoning regulation as follows. Under Article 2 definitions, establish definition for data centers and prohibit data centers containing a building area of 100,000 square foot or more. Under Article 9, LID, Light Industrial District, amend Section 400.830, permitted uses, paragraph A, permitted uses, item 13, to only allow wired telecommunication carriers. Under Article 9, LID, Light Industrial District, amend Section 400.840, special permit uses to add data centers as defined under the 2007 NACIS 518. Amend Article 12, special permit uses to include under Section 400.1223G, additional conditions by special permit use, data processing, hosting, and related services as defined under NACIS 2007 SIC Code 518.
Now, at this point, if it's okay to interrupt, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
To add that we were going to change the buffer to include the PA district and that buffer distance to be 500 feet instead of 300.
As
So,
noted.
as noted in the
Okay.
memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated February 19th, 2026.
Motion's been made by Laura Ragsdale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And seconded by Tim Spiegelglass. Carlos, you please call the vote.
Okay. Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Spiegelglass,
Approve.
Commissioner Ford,
Approved.
Commissioner Nat,
Approved.
Commissioner Jurgel,
Approved.
and the motion passes unanimously 5-0. So this will then be taken to the city council. I believe we're looking at March 10th. However, at our first meeting in March, and I forgot the exact date, and there will come up to it in the second, I think it's the 5th. We'll bring you the map data and more information on that.
Good,
Okay.
good, good. Okay, comprehensive plan update.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the comprehensive plan. I'll go through this quickly in there and just kind of give you some thoughts. So we talked about our goals, and there are 10 goals that are identified within the plan. We talked about the council priorities regarding our streetscape and the Olive Boulevard corridor, the way it looks. The goals of the council regarding environmental sustainability. We've already addressed the solar panel installations. They'd like to get some regulations regarding outdoor lighting, and then continue to implement and improve stormwater oversight and regulations. And we will be having those coming in a couple of months. And then about the diverse housing, talking about adjusting how we subdivide properties and then kind of manage the size of the developments on those properties in there. Then we went through this exercise, starting I think in October, November till January, where we asked the commission to prioritize what they called the potential community actions that were identified in the comprehensive plan update. And then each of these reflect the top 3. Then we kind of codified that together to come back, and when we talked at our last meeting, and I'm sorry I didn't print out anything, but we put this all in a spreadsheet to identify, actual actions that the commission can start taking, what goals they impact, and estimated, and this is all draft right now, how long we think it would take to get that addressed, and then who's involved, the commission, the council, and staff, and all that. So we're starting to try to create a template for the commission that kind of puts put something in record that we're working in and putting towards forward it makes us accountable.
Yeah.
That we're implementing the plan as a whole. So we started looking at these things, these items here kind of reflect some of the council priorities and things that the commission has talked about. And then we wanted to go down with each of these goals to put those other items out and then kind of start looking at those so they don't get lost in the process. But these are the main items I think that we want to start addressing and going with the commission. And then again, we're probably going to reshuffle this, but how long we think it would take and all that. So we talked about that at the last meeting, and we got there. Commission say pretty comfortable going through this route. We need to refine that. So at that point, you know, planning staff wise, we started, you know, talking about within these individual ones, like in the new residential district. So Senior Planner Doty is going to put together some mapping information regarding the northeast quadrant and looking at the various lot sizes that are there. We're picking that because it is a defined area. It's a pretty well defined and established area, and it has housing that was built back into the 1920s to, you know, post-war housing in the 1960s and 70s. So it's a really nice dynamic of different housing types. There's at least 4 different housing types in there. There's the Collingwood Breitling, which goes back to 1920. There's the Hilltop, which is about 1940, and then there's Arrowhead, which is the 60s, 70s, and then of course you got the Hilltop Manor, which is late 90s, early 2000s. In there, and to take a look at the different, you know, different lot sizes. Right now, it's all zoned the same, but yet there's a variety of different lots and different characters. And then what we would take a look at is start looking at the different lot sizes, the dimensions, and seeing if the commission wants to consider creating new zoning districts in there. We also know within these lots, you know, think some of the hurdles that they've met trying to do improvements on their property. We were kind of taking a look at one of the Arrowhead streets where the garage was built. The garage side is built 5 feet from the property line, you know, and they usually have a carport or 1-car garage or nothing at all. And if we want to help facilitate that, do we want to consider a 0 lot line on the garage side? You know, or we talked about, Mr. Carlsville will talk about like creating little templates of different options that a property owner can consider to add a garage in there, that maybe tear down your carport and put a detached garage, or go in through your backyard, or you know, to give people you know, the ability to look at different options, in there. He's got an architect friend that can put all these things together. No, but you know, that you kind of give people like a pattern book of different options that they can take a look at how to improve or add to their property, given, you know, the
size.
configurations of the shapes in there. So
Great idea.
so we'll start taking a look at that and in the discussion to the commission. Then we talked about the height, bulk, and green space standards. And there we've seen, one of the things we kind of been struggling with having brought to the commission are these driveways. I mean, there are driveways here that you could land a plane in there, and they're getting wider, and we're getting more and more cars. I mean, it's just a product of the times, but we're starting to lose. Driveways don't count towards site coverage in all our accessory structures and all that. We're starting to get people, when they do driveways, to provide some type of BMPs for stormwater controls in there, but we don't get the full data that we get when someone's doing a new house or so. So it's difficult. What some other communities have done is, you know, if the goal is to prioritize the preservation of green spaces, instead of saying you can have this much square footage, is just to say 50% of your front yard has to be green. And then you just have to figure what size of a driveway you can put in there. And we can do different tiers that administratively, we can only do up to 50%. You want more than that, you got to go to the commission and you do a site plan review and all that, because there may be reasonable means of why somebody needs to do that. Or, you know, we can use the commission assistance to require, you know, some type of mitigation in BMPs or other options to make up for the loss of the loss of, you know, for losing that green space. So it could be, you know, pavers, it could be, you know, permeable pavement, or it could be the little egg crate thing, you know, to look at different things that we normally, or you don't want us to be selecting in there, because you would rather have a more community input review on that. So we started talking about different things, and we'll start coming into the commission, because ultimately we would want to get to this, update the land use code, but we don't want to update the land use code until we get some of these in place. And then we would want some outside consultant to kind of take a look at that, coalesce it, and then make sure that the code, there's not contradictions in the code, and 2, that the code is streamlined to implement some of the goals of the comprehensive plan, which are are there things here that we're not considering from a sustainability perspective? We want somebody to come in from the outside and assess that. It's like, hey, maybe your FARs are just too big if you really want to preserve green space, to give us an outside view. So that's why we put that would be at a later date. So there is some method to the madness in there. Same thing with chapter 428. We already have a Olive Boulevard concept master plan that identified native landscaping that they'd like to see on Olive, and we can start bringing those to the commission. We already know the streetscape concerns that have been expressed, especially now people are looking at the hue. That blue color is a bad color in there. And Creve Coeur just adopted an ordinance saying, hey, you can't have anything over 3,000 Kelvin, and that kind of takes you down to below the blue line. Our lighting standards, I think, are pretty good, but we've had concerns from residents about imposing lighting standards, new lighting standards on existing properties, and that's going to require some discussion in there. So if you have a wall pack light on your industrial building, the goal here would be to adopt ordinances or regulations that they would have to replace that, and maybe they get within in a year or a 3-year period, or so in there. And then for somebody again to come in and do a full overhaul of that chapter 428 after we add all these little bits in there. So that's how the goal that we're kind of looking at it. And then Public Works has they're working on a stormwater master plan along with recommendations to help mitigate stormwater both during construction, post-construction, and such. And we'll hopefully have those coming to the commission by May or June. So we're moving right along. And again, we'll continue to kind of reference this and keep the commission updated in there.
It's great.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
This looks great. This is cool. This is a cool.
Yep, all right. And Chairman, that really is all I have, but there is on the public comment side, I wanted to bring the commission up to speed onto an issue we've been kind of having some discussions with developers in there. I promise not to take more than 10 minutes. I had invited them here to speak about this in their open meeting, but they didn't show. And I understand why. It's scary in the process. But I want, and given some of the background of some of our commission members in there, would like to get some input. So in the building codes, this applies to residential and commercial, the building code creates specific zones, and you can see these different colors in there. And then there's this yellow color, and we fall in that yellow color. And that is what they call zone 4. And I'm just kind of letting you know. So it's kind of like they represent the type of climate that we experience. And we pretty much, they believe that Kansas City, St. Louis to Louisville to Cincinnati, given that we're kind of river cities, that we kind of experience the same type of humidity, heat, winters, and all that. Then the code goes on and creates what the standards would be for energy efficiency within these zones. And we've adopted the 2021 international codes. And one of the things some of our residential developers are struggling with is the insulation requirements. I'm going to go through that as best as I can. This is not my expertise in there. And under the 2015 codes, I'm just going to throw out numbers, so forgive me if I get these wrong. The insulation requirement was like a R20. And an R20 means that you build your house by like 2x6s. You go back to 2005 or maybe even a little or later in there, you used to be able to build a house with 2x2s, in there, and then put your insulation in 2x4s. And then you put your insulation in there, what they call sheathing on the outside, and then you put your brick or your siding and all that. And that was sufficient insulation to meet the code requirements. In 2015, we increased that, and most houses, their exterior is built now by 2x6s as opposed to 2x4s. Then they put the sheathing, the insulation, then you can put your siding and your brick on that, and it meets what they call, I guess, an R value of 20. Under the 2021 codes, they've increased that to R30. And if you were to do that traditionally as a stick built, Now you're doing the house by 2x8s with the insulation inside. Now, the code does allow for some variations and different options, so you could go back down to a 2x6, and then, but now the sheathing and things that you apply are going to be completely different and more thicker. So, you know, all of a sudden these walls are getting wider in there. And I'll give you an example in here. So bear with me, and this is kind of hard to see. So this this is a 2x4, and what you would traditionally do, you know, the type of insulation you would have to apply before you got to your siding. And I'm going to go here. This is a 2x6, the type of insulation you would apply, and then your siding. And then this is a 2x8, and then you can put, you know, your sheathing and then your siding on top. Their concern is like these walls are getting thicker, thicker, and thicker. And that contributes to cost. Now, when you're doing a 1.2 to a $1.5 million home, it's not that significant, but it does add up in there. The key thing would be is just what really is the big the efficiency savings in that process, and that's what I wanted to kind of bring to the commission's discussion.
Is it only an insulation issue, or my understanding was this had to do with burn rates as well? I thought there were some increased statistics around like slowing down the burning of the
To
house.
protect the adjacent.
Yeah,
homes.
to protect the adjacent homes.
It is possible. That's a very good point.
And I
You know,
only know this because in 2018 I had to do a renovation, and it was one of the first, you know, to move to that R30, and I remember discussing this quite a bit. And that was the feedback at the time I remember hearing.
Huh.
Tim, do you know?
I do not know the answer, but I definitely know people to find out. My initial thoughts is it's probably to do with the product that they're using. That they're going with the cheap, you know, you see the pink insulation and stuff, instead of doing, right, instead of doing like a board or something like that, is my guess on what's going on here. Because I don't build houses, but I find it hard to believe most people are building by 2x8s right now. And I just don't see that being done and happening. So let me do some research next week or a week from now. I'll come back and I'll tell you exactly
Yeah.
what we think is going on here. But I agree that they shouldn't be building with the 2x8s. I mean, that's cost, that's bad for the environment, that's bad for a lot of things that are going on there.
Changes how they frame things.
Changes everything. It makes that house bigger too, and your square foot's going down by 2 inches all the way around that house.
Now, one of the things I'll note, and I've been learning a lot on this, so don't want to speak out of terms in there. So within the code, like you could still build a house out of 2x4s, but you're right, you're going to apply a sheathing or insulation on the outside of that wall that's going to be thicker than you would if you did a 2x6 or if you did a 2x8. When you do a 2x6, you'll do your traditional R20, so you can fill in that gap, and then the sheathing you would apply would be a lot thinner than would be for a 2x4 because you have that thickness and all that. So all those little pieces pop up. If you just wanted to tackle it with insulation alone, then that'd be the 2x8 option, and of course.
But you could do spray insulation in the middle of those studs.
Correct.
I mean, I know that's cost, but you know, you could do it. I mean, that's what I think is, you know, they're looking at that one option of,
I
hey,
think so.
instead of saying, you know, so my house, for instance, was built with both the inside the studs and exterior insulation too as well. So I did it way past whatever it was, but there's options there to not make that wall. There's no question that the way we say it is every time you go around the house with whatever material is, it costs you a lot of money. So every time you wrap, whether it's plywood, whether it's insulation, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, it's brick, it's costing you money. You want to limit that times around the house with whatever material is and get that wall like this. So there's a cost too to it. You know, if you put a board in there, it's a lot cheaper and you're getting your house for, you know, you're getting more square footage and your price per square foot goes
Yeah.
where you want it. So There's a lot of things. Let me do a little bit of research. I'll come back to you with some options.
The other thing that was noted to me is like in these, the code also permits you, well, one is like, again, the code permits you to consider other options than just the size of that, the 2x in there. You do 2x6, but then you do this. You do the 2x8, then you just do this component. So you can add them all up independently. The code also allows you to assess a house holistically in there, where you take into account the mechanical and other components, not just in the wall, and see if you meet a specific factor
Mhm.
or so. And I think I'm not sure if the measurement to do that is when you, like, you do the blow test, and that makes that determination in there. Right now, county oversees that, but county is still under the 2015 uh, in there. The other thing we looked at is, I always look at it in terms of,
We're on 2021.
we're on
Counties
2021,
and-
county's 2015,
But
But
you
the
guys.
county does all
review-
their inspections.
or the mechanical, and the mechanical is where the blow test falls
Right.
under.
But your insulation, you guys are approving the insulation that's
Correct,
going
he
around
would do
town.
the insulation inspection. Yeah. I did take a look at, what does it do for our residents? Because that's more important to in there. So there are some studies that when they went from 2015 to the 2018, the energy savings was a little bit less than 2%. And that's like, really all that for that. But when they went from 2018 to the 2021, the energy savings is 9.4%. So now you're over 11% in savings from going from 2015 to 2021 in there. But then also take a look at the savings. The savings is $657 an average per year. So that's about $55 a month that you're saving. Now, to pay that off in the cost, they're saying it takes about 8 years based on the 2009 average. So I couldn't find one that I could, really set off. But again, this is, or the home buyer, for if they are paying that additional cost to get to that energy savings, it's going to take them 8 years before they, recoup if they stay that 8 years
Exactly.
in there.
But
So
somebody's gonna do it, whether the cost of the house, it doesn't matter if the guy
Yeah.
leaves or comes, somebody's recouping that.
It's like
cost.
buying a car,
Right,
if you get
right,
the
that-
high end.
That doesn't factor.
And so
Well, I'd say let's see what Tim can find out,
Yeah,
more
it'd be-
info. See if
I-
he's got
I told
the-
him I would bring it to the, we would listen in there, but right now, again, if the energy savings is over 10%, I think one of the council priorities really is about sustainability. 10% is a lot more significant than 2%. And it'd be a really hard sell, I think, to try to convince the council to backtrack. And maybe that's not, I'm not saying that as a bad word, but to go back on a lot of the sustainability goals of the comprehensive plan in there. So I'll leave it. And then we also looked at what are some of the other cities doing, because here's where it gets in there. So Creve Coeur adopted the 2021 codes, but they kept the energy efficiency code at 2015. So they that's not an issue there. Frontenac doesn't do the insulation inspection, so their response is like, it's a code, but we're not looking at it.
Mhm.
Clayton amended their table to go back down to the R20 in there. So
What about Maryland Heights?
I'll take a look at that one. I
Okay.
haven't checked
Okay.
on theirs. I know they're on 2021, but whether they did amendments, I'd have to take a look.
Okay.
An easy bunch.
That's good.
You said R20, is it, but in this, it says R23?
The R20 is a 2015 base,
Okay,
I believe.
okay.
Yeah, you're seeing the R23.
Yeah.
I know.
Is that just an error?
No, I think they come in that, and a lot of people just put the 23 cent.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, the guys that are building houses and the architects that are doing it aren't the guys that are doing this kind of calculations. They just want to know what to make that wall
Exactly,
and be done with it.
exactly.
Are you talking about this right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what this cross-section shows is it would be compliant with the 2021 code. You can do your R20 of insulation, But then this is what Tim is talking about. This is the additional like it's the special sheathing that you would apply in there along with the bat or not, excuse me, with the strips, and then you'd put your siding on there. So it's this piece here that is a unique or special material that you can then add to your R20 to meet or comply with that.
Which is what you're seeing around town. You see that green sheet and you see that black strip going in. That's what this new material is, and that's what people are doing with it. And you can put tile on it. It's a pretty good product that people are using for a lot of different ways to get this coat and a stickable product for different things in there too.
You know, that fiberglass board.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
fiberglass board.
Yeah.
You see it on almost every house now.
Exactly.
Yeah, every commercial product's using it. If it fails, everybody's in deep doo-doo. But
Yeah. Have these zones changed at all
No, no.
because of increased temperatures?
No, I checked in that. No, the zones pretty much have stayed consistent the best as I can tell.
Yeah, I was just curious.
So
I
good question.
Actually, was looking at a house or involved with a project where it was a guy from Canada and he wasn't using fiberglass insulation. He was using some special insulation that comes from Canada. And it was really cool materials. It felt like a quilt almost. It was some sort of wool. It wasn't rock wool, but it's some sort of wool material, but it was pretty darn expensive.
Yeah, wool as an insulation as a fire resistant capability as well. And like, yeah, they do that in New Zealand because
Really?
they have such a big sheep population.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It was great. The guys loved working with it because it wasn't that fiberglass where kids.
Oh, itchy.
So, it-
Jack said that Maryland Heights did adopt the 2021 codes, but kept the IEC at the 2015.
This is of IEC, with local.
so are we the only one that adopted the 21?
Without any amendment, yes.
Okay.
interesting.
So,
All right.
and it was difficult to find, it's difficult to find those amendments. And that's the same thing, like we got amendments in our code in there, but they're, you know, when you go to these city websites and all that, they are, you really got to get into the detail to find references that in there. So when we adopted the 21 codes, we looked at all these other communities. Everybody seemed to have pretty clean adoptions in there, but it's not until you get into the details or they transferred it to the county, you know, so that it's
Right.
in there. So
All right, good. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. I think
Absolutely.
that's good. I don't see anybody in the public. Otherwise, we'd have public comments. Is there anybody else online, Carlos?
outside of Mr. Lewis, no, sir.
No? Okay. So we'll move on to other business, meeting minutes. I see several. I see November 20th, 2025, January 15th, 2026, and February 5th, 2026. Somebody has been busy. Yeah. So acknowledge the receipt of these. If anybody has any revisions, please contact Jack and that'll be great. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Carlos?
Just a couple of things on the dais. You'll see the calendar of events on our next coming meetings. Our next meeting is March 5th. In there, tentatively, right now, we don't have anything for the commission. There are two petitions that are kind of floating out there. We're just not sure if they'll be submitted, by the end of next week. In there, we've talked about the March 19th meeting. I am now going to be out of town, so I'm asking. We don't have anything pressing. Anything that comes in can be accommodated on March 5th or April 2nd, and if the commission's okay, we can go ahead and cancel that.
Yeah, that sounds
right.
good. A spring break for us.
There we
The city council will be holding a retreat this weekend on Sunday, and in that we're all kind of waiting to see what the new council goals will be going forward, and then that'll help us in terms of how we prioritize stuff for the comprehensive plan update, and then of course our budget really that's where it has the biggest impact. Outside of that, the brass tap, they were doing training this on my way here at about 6:30, so they got a temporary occupancy already in there. We're still waiting for the Paris Baguette, but they're kind of moving along. So is Verizon and Tropical Smoothie. There's still a 1,000 square foot unleased space in there, and he's thrown out different ideas, but nothing's really tight in there. No updates on the hotel. I know from the administrative side, on the city manager, that she's been pushing the developer that they need to get this going in there, and we're hoping that we get it in before the end of the fiscal year. In there, so we'll see.
They were moving dirt though, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
And so in there. Then across the street, Irvington Place, in there, it's coming around really nicely. Sidewalks are in place, landscaping's in place. And they're looking probably at April. There was a hiccup. A water line on the first level busted and impacted several of the units in there, or a component of the floor. So so there, if you go drive by there, you'll see a lot of big fans that are on. The sidewalk looks great. It's coming along. In there, they were putting the irrigation lines, and it's really neat. They did a nice curvature sidewalk with a couple of little elements that are going to be on that place. So it came out really sharp. And outside of that, I don't have anything else unless there's any questions or areas of interest that I missed on there. I don't know if Jack or Don have any items. Don't forget about voting for businesses of the year, restaurant and such.
Yep, please, as Carlos was saying, please vote for your favorite businesses and restaurants of the year. You can nominate up to 6 per go, so.
Good. All right. Thanks, Carlos.
All right.
Brian?
No significant updates. To Carlos's point, we have a council retreat this Sunday where we'll mostly be focused on council goals, taking into some of the considerations, but we're going to try to get very tangible about kind of what our specific goals are, making sure they're kind of focused on our areas. Yeah, those are kind of the big things going on right now.
Great. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. All right. So if anything else, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn at 8:16. Thanks, everybody.